Want the numbers?
Yeah, we want the numbers.
What are we dealing with here?
All right.
Come on.
Oh, God.
In year one,
Yeah.
we cleared $110 million in retail sales.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, excuse me. 250 million in retail sales.
Oh, sorry. That was a little mistake.
110 million gross internally. In January of this year, we did 45 million.
Oh,
Wow.
only in January?
Yeah.
What is that flavour you got there?
Tropical punch, it says.
Oh, Jesus.
Loosely. You've just
It's like-
come from the Maldives.
No,
How
it's
tropical was
like
that?
swallowing perfume. What is that?
This morning, New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the FDA to investigate the energy drink Prime, which he says is being marketed to children and contains the caffeine equivalent of 6 cans of Coca-Cola.
What happened to Prime? Just a year ago, this stuff had kids acting like it was holy juice straight from the YouTuber gods, Logan Paul and KSI. You couldn't find a single bottle anywhere. Stores were cleared out, resellers were flipping them for wild prices, and every kid at school treated Prime like it was liquid gold. But now, in 2025, you can't even give it away. Shelves are stacked, the hype is gone, and the company's drowning in lawsuits worth over $70 million. That's a 90% crash in revenue, a total meltdown. And honestly, are we shocked? Because the ingredients list looked like something that needed a hazmat warning. Fans once called it the future of hydration. Now they're calling it a chemical cocktail with a logo. Prime went from the hottest brand in the game, a billion-dollar look-alike success story, to a clearance aisle punchline in record time.
An energy drink that's become very popular with kids is now facing calls for an investigation by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Prime is endorsed by YouTube stars Logan Paul and KSI and has amassed a very large following since its launch last year. But some U.S. lawmakers are concerned about the marketing to children and very high caffeine levels in this beverage. While it's advertised as zero sugar and vegan, the caffeine levels are 200 milligrams per 12 ounces. That's equivalent to about 6 cans of Coke or nearly 2 cans of Red Bull. But some schools overseas have already banned the drinks.
So, how did that happen? Let's break it down. Back in 2022, influencer culture was on fire. KSI and Logan, two masters of online chaos, joined forces to drop what was basically a flashy version of Gatorade with a YouTube filter. The bottles screamed for attention. Neon colors, massive fonts, packaging so loud you could spot it from space. It wasn't a drink. It was a prop for your Instagram post.
Why is Prime failing? Because of all the hype, which is what Prime was built off. But when it was first released, these boys rode the hype train. And then once they did that, they turned to energy drink. The hype around that wasn't as much. And then the boys tried to do Prime sticks. That really failed. In fact, they don't even sell that anymore. And now their sales have dropped 50%. The party's over and now they're in trouble. But also, Prime's biggest problem was the limited supply they had. And that initially drove the insane demand. But now they've fixed the supply issues, the demand is not as much. And I think the only way to save the business is sell Prime online. Make it available to order on their website, maybe even an app, even on Amazon, maybe even make a subscription option. You can automatically have a new batch sent out and start promoting it. And if you want to see more content from me, hit that follow button.
The sales pitch was genius. Gatorade, but make it viral. They didn't even need the product to taste great. The marketing was the flavor, and the people ate it up. Stores sold out in hours, kids were hoarding bottles, and parents were driving across cities hunting for blue raspberry like it was a limited edition sneaker drop. But behind the hype, there was a dangerous trick: manufactured scarcity. Prime's team mastered FOMO. They played on the same psychology that makes people camp outside for new iPhones. Drop limited stock, let it sell out instantly, then flood social media with videos of people desperate to get more. The formula was simple. If you can't have it, you want it even more. Just like a rare Fortnite skin or a Supreme hoodie, Prime became a flex item. Kids were paying $20 to $50 a bottle online just to show they had one, and Logan and KSI didn't stop there. They locked in deals with Arsenal FC, UFC, and a bunch of other partnerships that made Prime look unstoppable. It wasn't just a drink anymore. It became a status symbol. For kids who couldn't afford designer brands or luxury cars, a bottle of Prime was their badge of clout. But here's the problem: hype doesn't last forever. Once the shelves stayed stocked and the exclusive magic wore off, the illusion started crumbling. Prime was everywhere, and that made it ordinary. Then they made a bigger mistake. Prime Energy. Same cartoonish look, but now with 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. That's an adult energy dose dressed up like a Saturday morning kids show. It looked more like a Fortnite ad than something you'd find next to Red Bull. Parents freaked out, schools started banning it, and health experts began raising alarms. Suddenly, the brand that sold fun hydration was accused of pushing dangerous drinks to minors.
Earlier this year, a weird string of rumors started floating around because someone sued us saying that Prime had forever chemicals like more than you were supposed to drink in like a lifetime, whatever. I made a TikTok debunking it, but regardless, the rumor still got out there, and like low-key the damage is done. And now, even though we're in this lawsuit, whether it's true or not, people think it. And so the lawsuit got dismissed. The plaintiff does have a chance to amend it, but she's chosen not to. She's coming back with one really weak ass claim that's probably also going to get dismissed. But it's just like an example of people reaching, trying to get attention, make a quick buck on a frivolous lawsuit that actually has no merit or is based in nothing, and we're not going to settle. Oh, the caffeine one, where plaintiffs said there was a crazy amount of caffeine that didn't meet what we said on our label in Prime Energy, which is 18 plus and has 200 milligrams of caffeine. That one also got this.
And just like that, the empire started collapsing. So here's where things really blew up, literally. Kids started slamming back these Prime Energy cans without realizing each one packed 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's not hydration, that's a rocket launch. They weren't checking labels, they just saw Prime and thought, that's what everyone's drinking on TikTok. But instead of feeling cool, some of them ended up jittering, shaking, and nearly passing out. Schools started banning it, parents went ballistic, and suddenly Logan Paul had to grab a mic and say, it's for adults, not kids. But hold up, if it's for adults, why does it look like it belongs next to a box of Lucky Charms? You can't plaster neon colors, cartoon vibes, and flashy fonts all over a can and then act surprised when kids want it. Prime tried to play both sides, a hydration drink for kids and energy fuel for adults. But that's a brand identity crash waiting to happen. They basically turned the grocery aisle into a lawsuit factory. And then came the reviews. Oh man, once the hype faded and people actually tasted the stuff, reality hit hard. Outside of diehard superfans, the reactions were brutal. One guy took a sip of the tropical punch flavor and said, "Bro, this tastes like perfume." Another said it's like Gatorade with a chemical aftershock. Others called it hot candy cough syrup or cheap knockoff juice with gym sweat mixed in. It went from a trend to a meme in record time. But the taste wasn't the only thing going sour. The lawsuits started dropping like dominoes. Big ones too. Let's break it down, lawsuit by lawsuit, like a UFC card, because this legal battle's got rounds. Refresco versus Prime, $67 million. Refresco, one of Prime's major manufacturers, claims Logan's team promised to buy massive stock over 3 years, but suddenly ghosted them when sales tanked. So now they're suing for $67 million. That's more than Prime's entire 2024 revenue. Imagine signing that check. Agrana versus Prime, $13 million. Next up, Agrana, a supplier that provided ingredients for Prime, says the company didn't pay up. Prime clapped back, saying the ingredients weren't up to standard. But either way, this dispute's getting messy. It's another public stain on a brand that already smells like artificial watermelon and overdue invoices. PFAS contamination lawsuit, $5 million. This one's dark. Lab tests allegedly found forever chemicals, PFAS, in Prime's grape flavor, the same toxic stuff the EPA warns about in drinking water. Plaintiffs are saying Prime basically served up toxic juice for kids. The case is still active, but if that evidence sticks, it could get very ugly. High caffeine class action, $5 to $10 million. And here's the kicker. New lawsuits claim that some Prime Energy cans contain even more caffeine than what's printed on the label. We're talking energy levels beyond 200 milligrams, all while the can still looks almost identical to the caffeine-free Prime Hydration version. So yeah, imagine a 10-year-old thinking they're just grabbing a fruity sports drink, and instead getting a double espresso in disguise. By now, Prime isn't just fighting to stay relevant, they're fighting to survive in court. Attorneys general from multiple states are poking around, politicians are calling out the branding, and regulators are asking how this stuff ever made it past review. The result? A company that once looked untouchable now looks like a cautionary tale with lawsuits closing in from every direction. And trust me, it's about to get way uglier. And now, Prime's in deep trouble. They're being dragged for deceptive marketing, selling a hyper-caffeinated drink to literal kids. Like, what were they thinking? It's one thing to make flashy drinks. It's another to trick middle schoolers into chugging something that hits harder than a double espresso. One of the biggest punches came from New York, where a class action lawsuit claims Prime lied about the caffeine levels on its cans. Allegedly, it wasn't 200 milligrams like the label said. It was more. And when your main customers are 12-year-olds with Fortnite addictions and no sleep schedule, that's not just bad, that's dangerous. Health officials called it a lawsuit waiting to happen. And guess what? It happened. But that wasn't even the wildest case. Remember the limited edition Kevin Durant Team USA Prime bottle that dropped before the Olympics? Yeah. Turns out Logan and KSI didn't actually have permission from the US Olympic Committee to use that branding. They got hit with an Olympic trademark lawsuit, which reportedly cost them between $1 to $3 million before it was quietly settled. And based on how silent Logan went afterward, it's safe to say that settlement didn't go their way. So let's tally up the damage, shall we? Refresco lawsuit, $67 million. Agrena Ingredients case, around $13 million. PFAS and caffeine lawsuits combined, roughly another $10 million. Olympic lawsuit, around $2 million. That's over $90 million in legal fire coming down on a company that only made $430,000 in profit for the entire year of 2024. That's not a brand in trouble. That's a brand on life support. And here's the thing, even though there's no official federal ban on Prime, the retail freeze is real. Stores are quietly pulling back orders, shelves are staying stocked, and retailers don't want the PR smoke. Meanwhile, Logan and KSI keep saying, "We stand by our product," trying to aura farm confidence online. But that's not helping when kids are still ending up in hospitals for drinking the wrong Prime. While the lawsuits made headlines, the real downfall was showing up in the sales numbers, and they're brutal. In the UK, Prime's revenue nosedived from £112 million in 2023 to just £33 million in 2024. That's nearly a 70% collapse. Their net profit, down a staggering 91%, from £3.7 million to barely £300,000. In the US, things weren't much better. Sales dropped by another 40%. At this rate, bankruptcy isn't just possible, it's practically blinking on the horizon. See, this is what happens when you mistake virality for longevity. Prime built an empire off TikTok trends, but when the hype train slows down, you're left paying bills with no passengers on board. Those long-term factory contracts and staff costs don't vanish just because the internet moved on. And when people finally stopped caring, sales didn't just drop, they stopped. Walk into any Target or Walmart now, and you'll see it for yourself. 12 packs that used to sell for $25 now marked down to $8, and still sitting there gathering dust. Those bright bottles that once screamed cool now just whisper clearance. So yeah, Prime's story went from viral sensation to business cautionary tale faster than anyone expected. And that leaves one question hanging in the air. Where exactly is Prime now? So where is Prime now? Well, technically it's still here, just barely. You can spot it sitting lonely on clearance shelves right next to dead brands like Bang Energy and those random protein chips nobody ever asked for. The UFC still lists it as a sponsor, Arsenal still has the logo on their jerseys, but the magic's gone. The resale hype is stone cold. The lawsuits are still breathing fire, and that so-called billion-dollar drink can't even sell out a gas station fridge anymore. Prime went from being a flex to being a joke. It's that one brand everyone remembers for the hype, not the taste. Those bright bottles that once meant clout now just mean clearance. The whole thing became a neon-colored reminder that hype fades faster than electrolytes evaporate. See, Prime didn't crash overnight, it bled out slowly. The same energy that launched it into superstardom ended up being the poison that brought it down. Logan and KSI didn't just sell a drink, they sold a fantasy, a shiny illusion that made kids believe hydration was some kind of luxury lifestyle. The scarcity drops, the influencer power plays, the packaging built for selfies, it was all one massive marketing high. But the problem? That excitement never turned into loyalty. Once the shelves stayed stocked, the illusion vanished. Suddenly, Prime wasn't a status symbol anymore. It was just another drink fighting for space next to Gatorade and Monster. And when parents started realizing their kids were downing 200 milligrams of caffeine in one sitting, the backlash hit like a tidal wave. Schools across multiple countries banned the drink outright. Regulators stepped in, and lawsuits started piling up like receipts after a bad night out. By 2024, the numbers confirmed what everyone already felt. The empire was falling apart. In the UK alone, Prime's sales dropped over 50%. Profits collapsed by more than 90%, and stores were marking bottles down to $5 or less just to clear inventory. Nobody was buying it. Back in the peak of 2023, a single TikTok about Prime would rack up millions of views in hours. But now, you'd be lucky to scrape a few thousand. The attention's gone, the fan base moved on, and the internet found new obsessions to chase. In the end, Prime didn't fail because people hated it. It failed because it was never built to last. It was built for clicks, trends, and viral dopamine hits, not sustainability. Prime was a brand born from a moment, not a model. And when that moment passed, so did its power. After the crash, things got awkward. Fast. Influencers who once bragged about being Team Prime for life suddenly went ghost. Old TikToks promoting the drink quietly vanished. Instagram captions got edited, and even the loudest fans switched sides overnight. It was like watching an entire generation pretend they never stood in line for a neon bottle that tasted like battery acid with sugar. Meanwhile, Logan and KSI tried to play it cool. They launched new flavors, teased international partnerships, and even hinted at a possible rebrand. But people weren't buying it. Literally. Once trust disappears, no flavor can fix that. The same kids who begged their parents for Prime now clown it online, calling it clout juice and failure fuel. Every comeback attempt just reminded the internet of how far the brand had fallen. Behind the scenes, insiders say the company's bleeding cash to keep the lights on. Warehouses are full, but shipments are crawling. Distributors in the US and UK have started dropping Prime from their lineups, citing lack of consumer demand. Even stores that still carry it have pushed it to the bottom shelves. The retail equivalent of exile. What was once front and center product placement now collects dust next to forgotten energy shots and sugar-free drinks from 2018. And the hits just keep coming. Health watchdogs are circling back to those caffeine claims, pushing for stricter packaging rules. Nutritionists are calling Prime the poster child for influencer negligence, saying it represents everything wrong with viral marketing. Fake exclusivity, overhyped branding, and zero long-term safety checks. The FDA hasn't banned it, but the noise is loud enough to make retailers nervous. Even investors are jumping ship. Reports say early partners have quietly backed out or sold their stakes to cut losses. The talk in business circles is that Prime's brand value dropped over 80% in a single year. A fall that big doesn't just hurt wallets, it ruins reputations. And here's the craziest part. While Prime's drowning, dozens of copycat brands are popping up trying to snatch the space it once owned. Everyone wants to be the next viral drink, but they're ignoring the biggest lesson from Prime's fall: hype can't save you when the taste and trust are gone. At this point, the hype's gone, the trust's broken, and the market's moved on. What's left of Prime isn't an empire. It's a warning label for every influencer who thinks clout equals credibility. The shiny bottles, the viral chaos, the celebrity faces, all of it faded the moment people realized you can't build a lasting brand off trends alone. Prime started as a dream, 2 YouTubers turning fame into fortune. But it ended as a case study in what happens when marketing runs faster than honesty. The crazy part is, the fall didn't even need a villain. It wasn't some conspiracy, no big expose, it was just time. The audience grew up, the hype ran dry, and the internet found a new obsession to chase. Now, every clearance shelf, every unsold case, every lawsuit still hanging in court, it all tells the same story. Buzz dies, but bad business decisions last forever. Even with Logan and KSI still trying to spin the narrative, the crowd's already tuned out. They've moved on to the next shiny thing, and Prime's name only pops up when people need an example of influencer burnout. But here's the real question. What did we learn from all this? Maybe that being famous online doesn't make you a genius in business. Maybe that influencer trust is temporary, and when it's gone, it's gone. Or maybe, just maybe, that no amount of hype can fix a product that people stop believing in. So tell me what you think. Did you ever try Prime when it was at its peak? Do you think it deserved the downfall? Or do you still keep a bottle in the fridge? Drop your thoughts down below. I want to know if you think it was a straight-up failure or just bad luck. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I've got even more wild celebrity drama and influencer chaos waiting for you. Click on the next video popping up on your screen, because trust me, you don't want to miss this next story. See you in the next one.